So, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Turn 5 podcast. You'll notice that I haven't opened in the usual chirpy way. That's because we're starting off on a very sad note this week. Tragically, there was quite a serious accident at the race, the BTCC race at Brands Hatch at the weekend, where a marshal, one of the core parts of the sport that we all love, tragically lost their lives. So we would like to send our condolences and the condolences of everyone who's been on the podcast in the past to the family, friends of the marshal at Brands Hatch. Okay, let's get this week's episode underway.
Before we do that, also sending our best wishes to Jack Aitken as well for his crash in the 24 Hours of Spa.
Yes. So let's get this week underway. I'm back. Hello.
I'm also back.
Everyone's here.
I'm also back.
My
Turn
work
3
decided
podcast was short-lived again.
My work decided to schedule me for 2 Mondays in a row, so that was rather inconvenient. But I'm here now, and Nia's back too, so we're back up to full strength. And what a week to do it! The Hungarian Grand Prix.
Buckle in.
This is a madness. Could be here for some time just discussing the steward's room.
So before we get involved with that, should we start at the beginning? Free practice?
Well, before we do that, we should do what we always do at the start.
Oh God, yeah, brief. Oh,
Your one sentence review of the weekend, Richard, please.
Bottas bowling champion.
Fair. Ben?
Bittersweet.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. Nia?
Wii bowling comes to life.
Alex?
Christian Horner in tears again.
Mine would be Bottas scores a strike.
He got a turkey, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Max didn't
yeah.
DNF, but he was as good as DNF'd at that point. So
Lance Stroll got a lovely spare as well.
what was he doing? Oh my God.
We'll come to
come on.
Lance
Yeah,
Stroll.
we'll have to deal with the World Bowling Championships later.
A bit later on, yeah. Also, because there's so much happened in Formula One, and we're into the summer break, and we need to fill episodes in the next few weeks.
I mean, Formula 3 was crazy enough anyway, so...
Yeah, we are going to delay talking about Formula 3 and W Series to next week's episode.
That's basically become the usual at this point.
It's because if we have boring races, then we can fit everything in, but so much happens.
Yeah, another Monaco, and we can fit in like 5 support races.
Yeah,
we
bash
could
them
do
all
like
out.
5 months worth of content on a Monaco race.
Yeah. But yeah, so we have decided to delay that till next week. And we'll talk about Formula 3 W Series and probably something else next week. So free practice. Cars like hitting the wall a bit.
Well, I made some notes on things. I basically just watched the highlights on YouTube and wrote a few things down. So FP1, Alonso spun, Sonoda spun, and then he spun and hit the wall.
Yep.
So that ruined his Friday. Max was
Sonoda,
fastest.
Sonoda isn't having any sort of luck in free practice just now, is he?
No.
He seems to crash every week.
They got out for a single lap of FP2. So I mean that's fair play from the mechanics to actually get that car rebuilt in time.
Oh yeah, better than nothing.
Yeah, but still. Not ideal to have that sort of setback. But at least he didn't do what Mick did.
Is the question, well, the question at that point is it worth it to go out for 1 lap?
I mean, it's some data, isn't it?
Mm.
So, and I mean, he finished 17th in that session, so he beat some people.
Were there any penalties from practice?
There were fines
Yeah, I was about to say there was probably
and
many
a
fines.
reprimand. It was Giovinazzi was
Yeah, Giovinazzi got a
unsafe release.
reprimand for impeding car 10, I believe.
Gasly, yeah, exit of turn
Yep.
13. And the team was fined €5,000 for the unsafe release into Stroll.
Giovinazzi did not have a good week in the pit lane.
Alpha didn't have a good
Yeah.
week in the pit lane.
We'll come to that though.
Other points, Max fastest in FP1, but Bottas fastest in FP2. We had record track temperatures at the Hungaroring. I think it reached 63 degrees at one point or something stupid.
Yeah, it was absolutely mad.
And then Schumacher had a casual 30G crash in FP3. So he did not take part in qualifying.
Not that it mattered. It just,
I
probably
mean,
a
yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, he was going to have started last anyway.
He
Well, I
took
mean,
a new gearbox, didn't he? I think I saw it on a document somewhere.
Probably.
So, I mean, if you're last at that point, you might as well take the 5-place grid penalty and go from 20 to 20th. So, fair enough. I mean, that was pretty much practice. Everyone was struggling because the temperatures were so hot. And then we went into qualifying. And I guess the biggest shock was George didn't make it out of Q1 for the first time this year.
That's apparently the way to go. Just
I
don't
mean,
make it
yeah.
out of Q1.
Score points.
Yeah.
Sainz binned it in Q2. And
He did.
Ricciardo did not get into Q3 again. And Mercedes' strategy was somewhat rendered useless by the weather because they were the only cars to get through to Q3 on mediums. So they would have had a slight difference there. And then I guess we have to talk about the Hamilton gamesmanship that everyone was referring to, and why that was actually a load of tosh, because the TV directors only showed us Hamilton in front of Verstappen, yet they didn't show us the train of 8 cars in front of him. So it was misrepresentative of the actual events. I actually, you know what, sod it, screen share this one. Sure. So you can see I've taken the GPS data from the session. I don't think the times are exactly spot on, but you know, it's representative. So you can see Gasly is the front of the queue, and he had a minute left on the clock when he hit the apex of 14, and then Leclerc went so slowly that Gasly's reached the apex of turn 1 by the time he's at the apex of 14.
Yeah.
And everyone else, you can see, leaves about the same sort of gap. And obviously the guys at the end just leave a gap to get over the line. Unfortunately, Perez didn't. But I mean, I think this is pretty self-explanatory in the fact that I believe this is Leclerc's fault. For that actual event. Oh, I can zoom in. For that actual event. However, I want to stipulate that I think the stewards are at fault for this scenario, because I mean, we see it every year at Monza and yet nothing changes. And there's a note in the race director's event notes. It's article 8.1, and it stipulates a minimum lap time between safety car line 2 and safety car line 1. It only applies on in laps of qualifying and reconnaissance laps before the start of the race. It doesn't apply to out laps, which I think if they just added that little stipulation of applies to out laps, suddenly we don't have everyone in a massive queue because there's a time to stick to.
Yeah.
I mean, Hamilton's outlap was the exact same time pretty much as
the one before.
Wasn't it? I mean, it was a load of rubbish.
That's
like, you know, the conspiracy theories that we always see. I listed them all off air.
I mean, you know, you guys all know that I'm not the biggest Hamilton fan, and I will criticize him quite openly. But in this case, I'm not having it. At first, with the TV direction as it was kind of like, this is like Monza 2018, where he said interesting tactics to keep pole, just don't let them do the lap. But then you actually take a magnifying glass to the situation and you see that he's got Bottas in front of him, and Bottas has Ocon in front of him, and Ocon has Norris in front of him, and in front of him, and there's just a big train. So even just send the cars out earlier doesn't work, because there's like a whole minute's worth of cars further up the road. So you'd have to send your cars out 2 minutes earlier than they did. So I think the easiest way, instead of just going, just release the cars earlier, is literally just amend Article 8.1 and say includes outlaps. Done.
Yeah.
Well, that's part one of Ripping into the Stewards this episode.
Mate, I've got a lot of notes.
More to come.
We know.
Chris doesn't. He wasn't here for that bit.
He is for this bit.
Yeah, so obviously Hamilton qualified on pole. But I mean, that was overshadowed by everyone going, So
that was part one of the great Mercedes conspiracy.
About 7.
there was the booing at the end of Q3, which if Hamilton had been like the last car and there was a massive gap in front of him, I'd maybe understand it a bit more, purely from a you've denied me some entertainment viewpoint. Because I want in qualifying, I want to see drivers go as fast as they can, not this guy's in front of me, I can't go anywhere, sort of thing. Like, I just want to see the best drivers go as fast as they can and push the limits. I don't want to see someone slow down just so their rival can't drive a lap. So I'd boo if that was the case, but in this situation, the only people I'd be booing are the stewards.
I mean, they booed him on the podium anyway when he taken himself to the point where he looked like he was going to pass
that's
out.
because it was one section of fans that were booing.
I mean, I didn't.
The section closest, the one that had a
section
microphone in it.
Yeah,
it was a section closest to the podium that all happened to be wearing orange.
I wonder.
Fans,
I mean, if you're
clarify, not McLaren.
Don't pin that on our fans, Ben.
Yeah,
we're nicer than that.
That was not us.
I mean, if you're going to boo statistically the greatest driver the sport has seen, for what? Because
AWS disagrees with you.
Oh yeah,
Senna is the greatest driver of all time. Thank you very much.
And Heikki Kovalainen's in the top 10, isn't he? Yeah.
AWS also says tyres have 100% life left after 10 laps. So
it was Alonso's front right had 80% life, but his rear right had 10. Questionable, AWS. Questionable.
That's one of the graphics I feel like just doesn't work. There's some of them are great, and then there's that one.
I loved the striking distance graphic after Hamilton's last stop. It was like Alonso in 3 laps, overtaking difficulty 50%. Cut to 13 laps later, and he only just gets past it.
Or it's when it came up, Sainz chasing Hamilton striking distance in 8 laps. No, I don't think so.
Should we start the race? Well, it was a brief start, wasn't it?
No. The race build-up started, and it was dry. And then it wasn't. Very similar to the Formula 3 race that morning. It was dry, and then all of a sudden, it just wasn't. It started raining.
It was the one race, wasn't it, where we weren't forecast rain, and we got it.
Well, we were forecast rain.
And then it disappeared off the forecast, and then it came back.
Then it rained anyway.
I just want to say, the way Chris said that reminded me of those memes where it's like they were friends, but then they weren't. It was dry, then it wasn't.
Oh, it's like those like real crime stories, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was all going well until it wasn't.
But yeah, it just started raining. So everyone switched to the inters.
Then
Fair
we
enough.
had bowling.
Then the lights went out, and we had bowling. Now,
didn't realise the Finnish was so good at bowling. I mean, I understand that they're great at curling, but that's a bit different, you know.
To cut Bottas a
I mean, it was
little
wet,
bit of slack.
So
A little bit of slack. It was wet, and no driver had done a single lap in the wet all weekend. And
oh, it's just gonna say something. Oh dear.
Norris did cut in front of Bottas, which does remove your downforce. Nico Rosberg said it himself. However, he should not be doing that.
Yeah, however,
he's been in the sport for 8 years. He should know better. He should
18
know.
of the 20 drivers made it. Well, managed to break in time. Well, they didn't make it. But
Yeah, well, I mean, 18 of the 20 drivers would have made it under normal circumstances. 2 of the drivers decided to play bowling.
In reality, about 8 made it unscathed. Because, well, actually, if we count this, it was what? Bottas, Verstappen, Perez, Norris, and Gasly effectively got up in it as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he had to take the ultimate scenic route around turn 1.
And then the second incident, it was Stroll, Ricciardo, Leclerc, wasn't it? So that's 8 drive.
I think before we focus on Bottas, his was slightly understandable. Let's talk about Stroll.
Stroll forgot damage was on in the F1 lobby.
Didn't he just go straight over the corner?
He just went straight over the grass.
I think he thought it was dry.
He was you could see he was missing the corner. So he was like, I'll go down the inside and just punt everyone.
Yeah, he was late on the brakes. He was going to hit someone. And amazingly, he just decided to go into Leclerc. If he hadn't changed direction and just stayed on track and hit the person in front, he would have hit Ocon.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Like,
how lucky is Ocon?
That's like, if you think about it, like Ricciardo effectively was up to second, wasn't he? Like before he got turned around.
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
On the entry to turn 1, Ricciardo was up to 8th. And he started like 13th.
In an alternate world, Ocon gets a bit of a better start. Ricciardo doesn't get such a good one. Maybe Ricciardo wins the race. I mean, anyone could have come out of that.
I mean, if Stroll just hadn't sent it down the inside, Ricciardo could have won the race.
I remember looking
at one point, George Russell ran second.
Well, yeah.
Yes, that was some minor illegal undertaking in the pit lane.
Where was he meant to go? Was he
that was
sit in his box and end up last? Like,
I mean, Alpha should have sat in their box. Instead of
Giovinazzi shouldn't have done 100 kilometers an hour down the pit lane.
I was like looking at some of the replays at the start, and you look at some of the people that went to because obviously there was people like Alonso lost out as well, didn't he? Because he had to go round everyone. Like Tsunoda, literally on the apex for turn 1, gained about 12 places. It was ridiculous.
Alonso actually hit Stroll in that melee as well. But it was all right because Stroll's front left was already broken. So it just didn't do anything. So yeah, that was absolute carnage. 4 instant DNFs and then Norris in the red flag period.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it got red flagged because there was so much debris on the track.
It was literally half a barge board on pit exit.
I mean, yeah. And then about half a car just scattered around between turn 1 and wherever Perez stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, he went quite far around the track before he stopped.
Yeah, the engine, he stopped for the engine. But it was a case of, it's okay, it's working. And then obviously something on the sensors has gone, no, it's not okay. Because his race engineer was literally just, stop the car.
Yeah, a bit like Baku, where it's like, well done, Sergio, stop the car.
Yeah, it was that sort of urgency of, you need to stop it now. We've already broken something, please, jeez.
Don't break
Leclerc
anything else.
Leclerc ended up spinning down at turn, is it 2 or 3? I don't know if the short straight counts.
2.
And then Ricciardo with like half a car had to avoid him as well.
Yeah. And basically a chaotic lap 1. We then got lap 2 behind the safety car, and Massey was just like, "Aye, pit lane, boys, time to stop."
Red flag, baby. So
everyone moans about Massey, right? But I will give him one thing: he brought back the red flag.
Yeah.
We hadn't had a red flag in like 6 years or something
And now we
before
get them
before
every
last
week.
season. Yeah.
On the part 2 of the stewards roasting, how many penalty points did Bottas and Stroll get? Was it 2?
Yes. Yes,
So
they did.
that's the same
He
as...
took out half the grid.
I mean, I know we say
A quarter.
You can't base it on outcome. Like we did say that a lot last week.
It
so
is based on
point that out.
incident and not on outcome.
But Valtteri Bottas has missed his breaking point by a lot, and Lance Stroll has cut turn 1 and taken 2 people out.
In reality, Bottas only missed his breaking point by about 10 metres.
Well, into turn 1, you've got to be careful. But
I mean, the way he went into the back of Norris, he missed it by a damn sight more than 10 metres.
he locked up, to be fair. You can see that on the replay.
Yeah.
He locked up, so he wasn't slowing down.
And he was on the inside, so he should have braked earlier.
Yep.
But the point is, so that's apparently as bad in terms of penalty points as Lewis Hamilton doing a practice start at the pit exit in Russia, as Yuki Tsunoda crossing.
Those penalty points were revoked.
Those were rescinded. So it's as Lando Norris pointed out, as dangerous as not even touching someone and forcing them off the track at Austria.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, if even the drivers are pointing out the double standards of the point system, you sort of have to question it at that point.
I think Lando's a little bit annoyed that he got 3 in Baku patching a red flag.
I mean, yeah, but like at the same time.
But I agree with that. That's a very serious safety issue, just ignoring a red flag. But like, I'll do another lap, boys.
But then his forcing Perez off the track is somehow equal in point distribution as Bottas becoming the bowling champion of the world. I just don't see it as equal
in reality,
in any shape
though,
or form.
In terms of the causing a collision, that ended when Bottas's car hit Norris. That's what the steward looked at in terms of penalising Bottas.
Mate, he kept going and he hit Perez too.
Yeah, he did hit Perez as well. Yeah,
he did hit Perez, but his car was fucked by that point. So
got a race ban, didn't he? In 2012.
Yeah, because
Nico Hülkenberg got a 10-place grid penalty for the Spa incident. That is what I want to bring up. Nico got double the grid penalty for pretty much a similar incident, and Nico's was in the dry.
That's why it was worse.
How many people retired in that?
I don't know, but we don't take that into account.
But yeah. Well, I mean, what I would say, Kimi Raikkonen gets a 10-second stop-go penalty for something that wasn't his fault. It was the team's fault.
Yep.
But you have to penalise someone.
Yeah, find the team.
Sebastian Vettel.
They do in practice.
I mean,
in the race session, it finds. It comes under
Vettel being disqualified, obviously I mean, I'm jumping to the end, but
spoilers.
Vettel got disqualified, by the way, as well.
In case you haven't been on Twitter,
it's pending.
That he gets this. I know that's a rule that's been in there for ages, but
yeah, that's a breach of the technical regulations.
Yeah, you've got to distinguish between a technical rule, haven't you, and a driving rule.
Yes.
Yeah, at least they actually stick to that rule.
Yeah.
A breach of the technical regulations almost always harpers a disqualification because it means that your car is illegal. Yeah. See Gregor Saucy being disqualified for a washer being wrong on his car.
One thing I will say to keep it balanced is they did do one thing right, I think, and that was allowing George Russell to let the people he'd undertaken in the pit lane back through rather than slapping with the drive-through or something.
Yes,
but that's just like overtaking off the track. They do give you the opportunity to hand those positions back.
That was common sense. Like they could have given him a time penalty or something for that, but they didn't.
Yeah, I think just because of the situation, because everyone was in the pit lane, they were just like, just kind of let them go.
Yeah,
but if you keep it, we will whack you with one.
Also, in penalties for the start of the race. We thought it was going to be an unsafe release on McLaren for just letting, I think it was Norris, drive into Giovinazzi. But it turned out Giovinazzi was doing 105 kilometers an hour. So they gave him a 10-second stop go instead.
That's the most serious speeding offence I've seen.
How? Anyway,
I've never seen someone speed by 25 kilometers an hour, though.
Don't they have a pit limit on the car?
They do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Press it.
I mean,
So
yeah,
what's
if you
happened there?
press it, like,
Yeah.
press the brake.
Yeah.
You have a speedo on your dash, don't you?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, but he just kept going at 100 kilometers an hour.
No one will notice.
No one will notice.
No one will
Massey.
notice that my pit entry and exit time is 4 seconds shorter than anyone else's.
So yeah, that was handed down
Just
with let me double check this.
just to go back on like
Zero
penalty,
penalty
okay.
points.
Speaking
Are
of
you
penalty
mad?
points,
Hang on.
yeah, can I
Sorry,
talk,
go on.
please? Because I'm going to
Zero
forget what I
penalty
say.
points. So yeah, as you can see, Giovinazzi, 0 penalty points for going 105.6 kilometers per hour down the pit lane.
Speaking of penalty points, what I was trying to say was I think the system itself isn't bad. Like, it's like a normal driving license penalty system, but maybe raise it up to 24 points instead of 12, because then it's like too risky, and then they can give much stricter penalty points for much stricter like incidences, like Bottas, for example.
That's quite a lot of points, though.
Yes, but
For context, Raghunathan only managed about 27 penalty points in his F2 career.
I also do want to say that if it was a normal driving license, Giovinazzi would definitely have got some points.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, but also
How Giovinazzi got 0
never
penalty
mind.
points, that confuses me a bit.
But also, I'm going to finish what I was saying.
No.
The way the stewards are giving them out are a joke. Like, the system itself would be fine, but if the stewards keep giving out points the way they do, I think it should be raised to 24 points. That's
Basically,
why
everything comes with 2 points.
Yeah, so that's why I think maybe
Except
they
a red
should,
flag.
that's why I think it should be raised to 24 if they carry on giving the points out like they do, because it's a joke.
In the wise words of
Or
Fernando
not.
Alonso,
It's a
5
yoke.
seconds is a
It's
yoke.
a yoke.
Yeah. I didn't even know that, by the way, that he didn't get a penalty point. I mean,
Yeah, no, neither did I.
how
It's
like,
outrageous.
Also, we forgot to mention, before the race, there were 4 offences before the race, one of which was Valtteri Bottas. They all received non-driving reprimands because they forgot to remove a T-shirt.
It was raining.
Well, Seb
They
didn't
were
forget.
making
He purposely kept it
yeah.
on because Hungary.
That's not what the document says.
Oh,
Yep,
Oh.
the document says he
they
forgot.
oh, but I remember. I think
Sky
Seb
interview.
said, yeah, Seb said that he didn't take it off because the Hungarian government have recently made a law against the LGBTQ community. I'm not sure whether it is just homosexual people or if it is the whole community itself. I'm not sure what the law was, but he kept on to like protest the law because it is not a good law.
He had some nice shoes this weekend as well.
He had some nice. I liked his shoes. I really liked his shoes.
Nia. Yeah, he was protesting. Richard, shoes.
I did like it. His shoes were. I think
Priorities. It was part of the same protest, so you know.
Yeah, I think Lewis had the same like similar shoes as well. Like
He-
maybe on
Seb
Friday.
also had the rainbow flag added to his helmet for the weekend.
Yeah.
Had that in Turkey as well, didn't he?
I mean, the absolute nerve of the stewards to, well, not stewards, sorry, I'm so used to having a go at them, but the FIA to give him a reprimand for wearing a Pride t-shirt and trying to claim we race as one. I mean,
I
really?
kind of understand, like with the Lewis on the podium last year when he wore Justice to Breonna Taylor. I kind of understand where they're coming from because it's like an official ceremony, like the national anthem and the podium celebration. I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, it gives them a really bad look because Lewis was protesting against the racism in just everywhere, and Seb is protesting against people taking away rights for gay people. So I understand where the FIA is coming from, but it gives them a really bad look.
Almost as bad a look as agreeing to race in Saudi Arabia, who have a questionable human rights record.
As do a lot
We
of
racers
countries.
won $1 million.
More like
Well, we did race as one at the restart.
Yes. That's it. That's the segue.
That's a good one.
That's it. Oh my god.
Good. That was good.
We have now peaked as a podcast and shall be retiring.
It's going downhill from here.
Very briefly, before we do Racers 1, let's have a look at this stewards document. It's basically identical for Lance's.
Yeah.
As usual, the stewards reviewed video. I would like to hope they did. And he drove into the back of car 4. The stewards did take into consideration the track conditions, which is probably why he didn't receive a 10-place grid penalty. However, the driver of car 77, crucially, they said was fully to blame for the collision. Now, for all of you complaining about the Hamilton one at Silverstone, there was a bit of a difference in the wording there, where it said that Hamilton was predominantly to blame.
Yeah, they can only distribute penalties.
Received a 10-second time penalty.
The stewards can only distribute a penalty if they find a driver to be predominantly or wholly at fault. So if it's a 50-50, neither of them can get penalised. It has to be, the blame lays more with one person.
Exactly.
So
I realised I wasn't here, so let's go back to Silverstone very briefly.
Oh God!
And I'm going to give my
quick
thoughts.
Question, because I will forget to ask afterwards.
Okay.
Going back to Bahrain last year.
Gentlemen, a short view back to the past.
Bahrain last year? Which Bahrain race last year?
Sakir or Bahrain?
Bahrain. Okay, the fiery one. Yes.
Yeah. Did Dan Kvyat get a penalty for?
No.
No, because it was Roman's fault. Never mind.
Roman's fault.
But he got a penalty for Lance Stroll.
Yes.
Yeah, for rolling Stroll. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, because I always forget
for making him do a strolly-poly.
That is a point, isn't it? We're talking about the inconsistency. Sorry, I cut across your incredible joke there.
Thank you. At least you've acknowledged it was a cracking joke.
No.
Anyway,
I mean that was so obviously Grosjean's fault.
Yeah,
they're not gonna penalise someone who's not coming back.
Imagine
I
always ever make a Formula One return, you have a 10-place grid penalty.
Yeah, time penalty for his Mercedes test.
You have to sit in the pit lane for 3 hours.
And also,
I always forget it was his fault. Really,
it wasn't really a serious collision. Like the most they got is a 5-second time penalty, and even then, it basically went on with very little damage. So,
yeah, I always forget.
I think the most that was damaged was on a front wing end plate, which they just fixed under the red flag anyway. So there really was no need for a penalty. And Roman car blew up. So
yeah, I always forget it was Roman's fault just because I think he was on fire. It must have been Daniel's fault.
No.
No.
But yes, Silverstone. On first viewing, I genuinely felt it was a racing incident. For a couple of reasons. One, I don't know why everyone demands Lewis should have backed down. He does have the right to go for the move. Horner being like, oh no, you don't overtake there. But you can. It's a bit of track. Lewis was on the track.
It's allowed.
Yes.
Here is an excerpt from commentary from this weekend's race. So now it's slipstream, okay? You see that the guy is closing the inside, so you go to the outside. And here, because he had so much speed, so much more speed, and a bigger radius, Lewis kind of understood, okay, he can cut into the inside because Tsunoda here is going to back out. That is Nico Rosberg, Formula One World Champion of 2016, on the incident of Hamilton overtaking Yuki Tsunoda at turn 4 of lap 32 of the race. So, I'm not being funny. Lewis has a damn sight more experience than Yuki Tsunoda. And Tsunoda knew to back out. So, and that's coming from a world champion. That's not just some gruckle like me waving his flag.
We also look at Spain this year, where if Lewis didn't back out, Max was torpedoing Lewis into the wall. And then, Horner was like, yeah, great move.
Yeah, but
well done.
If he hadn't have backed out, Max would have received a penalty.
And Hamilton would probably have been out of the race.
And Hamilton would have been out of the race.
And we'd have all been moaning at Verstappen for ruining what was going to be a good race. Well, actually, we didn't think it was going to be a good race because it was Spain. But besides the point.
This is also what annoys me with Red Bull. Red Bull in particular, well, Christian Horner in particular. Max nearly T-bones a driver and only misses because the other driver moves out the way. Christian Horner, fantastic. Splendid. Lewis lightly taps Max's rear wheel, which happens to come off. Horner, yeah, he deserves a race ban.
Well, I think...
No!
With all this, with all the protests and stuff, I think not only have Red Bull lost a lot of points, but
they've also lost a lot of credibility.
Reputation. Yeah. Or was it Salty Spice that was trending?
Yeah.
Karen Horner.
Karen Horner and Salty Spice, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think their reputation is taking a bit of a hit. I mean,
the fact that Helmut Marko turned around and was like, yeah, they joked about it on this week's commentary after the Bottas incident. It was like, rumours now have it Helmut Marko wants a one-race ban for Bottas. It wasn't a race bannable offence. It just wasn't.
Well, to Helmut, it was. So.
Yeah, but to Helmut...
yeah, but Helmut needs to go in a home by now. Like, Jesus Christ.
To Helmut, not driving well in a car designed for one person when you're someone else means you need demoted because you're bad.
I do want to say, however, Horner took this week on the chin quite well.
Yeah,
his Instagram post is pretty spot on.
I think he's learned from Silverstone. That's why.
I mean, I'll just read it out for you. So this was on his Instagram. It says, after a good start for both Max and Checo, there's always the possibility of an incident into turn one in such tricky conditions. Unfortunately, we lost out on this occasion through no fault of our own. It was damage limitation from us from there, and the mechanics first did a great job to repair car 33 as much as possible before then nailing a fastest pit stop. Max fought hard to get himself back into the points, which could be vital at the end of the season. But unfortunately, we didn't get to see what Perez could do after his great start and had to retire the car with too much damage. We head into the summer break behind, but it's tight and it's certainly still all to play for.
I was surprised after the race.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he didn't accept Toto's apology, did he? But
I mean, yeah, that's fair enough. That's still right in the moment, though. And like,
But yeah, all I want to say on that one as well is I never want to hear Red Bull complaining about repairing something under a red flag because they did it. Max undoubtedly would have retired with that amount of damage had there not been a red flag. His car was just undrivable. Or demanding that the stewards look at things again just because they're not happy with the incident, because that's not how it works. Getting Alex Albon to go and drive around Silverstone,
that was such a joke.
Removes all of your credibility as a team.
I'm not being funny, but you're recreating lines, okay? You're using a car that has a different design philosophy, a car with high rake compared to a car with a low rake, a car with a short wheelbase compared to a car with a long wheelbase. And it's a car from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They're not even close to being comparable. What are they doing?
Almost as bad as Ferrari trying to use Karun Chandok.
Yeah.
In
I don't know. I feel like
ago.
this is another
worse.
level because they've bothered to take time out of a filming day to do this.
Yeah.
And someone has thought of that idea and thought, we are genius.
And a bunch of people.
Good idea. We'll make some own GPS data.
And a bunch of people at a board of directors decided, yeah, good idea.
Sometimes our genius is almost frightening.
And after that, of course, obviously everyone said that Albon was on his way to the Hungaroring to recreate Bottas.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, like I don't want to hear anything else from Red Bull for the rest of the season.
Or
Just
ever.
if a decision gets made, take it, move on. This is Formula One. It's how it works.
Unless you have genuine evidence to appeal it, shut up.
I think I used that exact quote on Twitter in a group chat. Someone was like, "Oh, it's coincidental that 2 Mercedes cars crash into 2 Red Bulls 2 races in a row." I'm like, "Welcome to Formula One."
flashback to 2018 and the podium interviews of the Great British Grand Prix, where Sir Lewis Hamilton called into question the questionable tactics of the boys in red, when in France, the race before, Sebastian Vettel had punted and spun Bottas round on lap 1, and in Silverstone, Raikkonen had punted and spun Hamilton round on lap 1. He called into question the questionable tactics.
Can I quote you from a few moments ago on this very podcast?
Aye.
Yeah, but that's in the heat of the moment, isn't it?
Oh, but there's implications. There's implications.
Silence.
There's implications to accusing teams of deliberately taking people out.
Yeah.
Red Bull have done.
Basically,
they did
I
last
said
week.
Then
they haven't this week.
I said then that there was no conspiracy. I say now that there's no conspiracy.
No, I just find it funny that like the exact same situations keep happening,
and
it's always the exact opposite.
Bottas didn't drive into Perez first; he hit Norris, who then hit Verstappen.
Mate, it was a tactical. It's like when you play a chain shot in snooker. It's a tactical punt.
So Bottas. Let me just put this into perspective. So
he's a mathematical mastermind.
Deliberately got a bad start.
Yeah.
Let Norris overtake him. Yeah. And then drove into Norris, knowing somehow that he would hit Verstappen.
Because you can't crash into Max if he's behind you.
Well, you could brake. You could do a Lewis Hamilton and Seb.
I mean,
he brake tested me.
That's more likely to ruin your gearbox, and he's only going to lose his front wing. So you got to get a bad start, get them in front of you, and then hit them. Bosh, it's genius.
Yeah. So F1 Twitter, please listen to this. It's not a conspiracy.
No.
That's not.
Or didn't Max said
that's me just being blocked by 10 Stan accounts.
Or Max, I can't quote him exactly, but Max said after the race, "Oh, it's funny how I've been hit by Mercedes or taken out by Mercedes 2 races in a row."
Yeah.
He said it's unfortunate.
I mean, if that was Hamilton, everyone would be saying, "Oh, he's accusing him of cheating." Like it's.
He's such a sore loser.
I know. Well, everyone says this about Hamilton at every race, that he complains, and well, basically, for a start,
Alonso said it.
Well, Alonso's not exactly.
I mean, Alonso has a point.
Guilty of that, but I mean, first of all, every driver, if you mic them up at 200 miles an hour, we've had this discussion, haven't we? It's like footballers. If you were to mic them up, imagine what you'd hear. And Lewis Hamilton does not complain any more than anyone else. It's just every time he breathes on the radio, it gets broadcasted.
He breathed quite a lot on the radio this weekend.
Yeah,
he did. Although he was exhausted, to be fair to him.
I do, however, just want to, on a more less charged note, point out what he said after implying the 2 Ferraris had deliberately taken out 2 Mercedes. He said, and a 5-second penalty and a 10-second penalty doesn't appear to feel, and then checked himself and said, ultimately it spoils the race. What did Lewis receive in Silverstone?
I mean, in Silverstone, it was a racing incident.
Yeah. He then went on to say,
I'd agree.
He then went on to say, it's a lot of points that ultimately Valtteri and I have lost in those 2 scenarios. And of course, it's a race situation. I couldn't see behind me, but we just have to work hard to try and position ourselves better so that we are not exposed to the red cars.
I mean, in the case of Hungary, I mean, if Red Bull said the same, I'd agree with them, because Bottas did take them both out.
I mean, yeah.
If we're trying to compare like the 2 2018 races to the 2 this year, Silverstone was the one that it was debatable. So
yeah,
but in terms of Hungary, yeah.
I
mean, if they said that, I'd agree with them, because it did ruin their race.
Very much so. I don't think there's a lot you can do with half a car, but it is interesting that half a Red Bull still has more downforce than an entire Haas.
That's true.
Well, just going back to Lewis being exhausted, I think I read somewhere that his drinks bottle, like the drinks thing, had burst and they didn't fix it in the red flag. That's why he was exhausted, because like he just wasn't getting anything to drink. He didn't have the drink.
Oh, Kimmy, no, you will not have the drink.
You will not have the drink. Chris.
Could also be long COVID.
It also probably mixed with both, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't actually know if that was true or not, but obviously long COVID.
I mean, I wouldn't call it into question if they said it was, because COVID sucks. So if he is suffering from that, I wish him well, because I want him to keep going with this title fight. I don't want him to have to like back out in the last third of the season because
or miss a race.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see this through. Yeah. I want to see arguably the two best drivers on the grid at the minute going at it, full pelt, no holds barred. Just don't punt each other off.
We forgot something when we were discussing the red flag. God. Retirement number 6. Nikita Mazepin.
Oh yeah.
Punterinoed by Kimi Räikkönen.
How look at that. Forget Mazepin.
No penalty points. Whoa. I mean, this is more understandable.
Fault.
Yeah, exactly. So
now, Richard, shall we tell everyone about our conversation earlier? When you wanted to complain about the stewards some more.
Look, that's a misunderstanding on my part, all right? I fully accept that one.
Yeah. So Richard thought Kimi should have been given a 10-second stop-go penalty, but he didn't read the articles properly.
No, I misunderstood the term of unsafe condition.
Yeah.
I understood unsafe condition as you've released it into a dangerous scenario, i.e. into the path of another car, not unsafe condition of your vehicle, i.e. a wheel nut's not fastened or your front wing's fallen off. So that's where my mistakes lie. It was just in application of the term of unsafe condition. So I was looking at 28.13D, not 28.13A. So far out, I know. Ridiculous.
Disgraceful.
Especially when Giovinazzi went 25 kilometers an hour too fast and got hit with 28.13D.
Yeah. Yeah. So why don't we just bring up Article 28.13? Let's go find that and we'll discuss the pit lane, because it's a very unsafe place sometimes with all these unsafe releases.
The car's spinning.
A boat does.
Still love that the McLaren engineers did nothing until he started moving towards the front wings. They were like, no.
Cease.
Halt.
Like they were standing there laughing at him. Then he started going towards front wings, like, no, bad,
Bottas.
Be gone from our front wings. The sporting regulations. Here we are. Giovinazzi couldn't have been done by 28.13D.
It was. Oh, no, it was 13C, I think. No, wait. Hang on.
No, that can't be right.
Oh, no, it's 47.3D, where it specifies what penalty will be actually applied. So.
Yeah, no, that can't be right. Pit lane speeding. What article was he in breach of? He was in breach of 22.10.
Lol.
Yeah.
Oh, that's safety standards.
Yeah. So, your cars must not be released into someone else or be Bottas and spin into someone else. 8.13A. 28.13B, if you release it without a wheel in practice, then you get a grid drop. And if you release it in an unsafe without a wheel during a sprint qualifying session or a race, then you get a 10-second stop and go penalty. And a fine, maybe, if the driver retires, i.e. Haas at Australia, then the team gets a fine.
Yikes. Didn't get a fine if the other driver retired, though.
Yeah, you just get a 10-second penalty.
I mean, he still finished the race and potentially has a point.
Yeah. So, shall we just get on to the end of the race?
No. Because
We're
there's a 10 lap period before that I would like to discuss.
Yeah, Alonso versus Hamilton.
Holy smokes, what a fight that
It was
was.
also a one-car start, which we
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even go back to the
we said we were going to
segue.
go on to that and then didn't.
We race as one car. On the
Basically, red flag happens. Hamilton is leading, to be expected. So he's got everything to lose if he goes into the pits to change off his inters and no one else does, because then he's in last. The issue is the reverse happened. He went onto the grid and no one else did. So he took the 5 red lights himself.
There was a tweet from Alan van der Merwe that was just so brilliant. It was just like, thanks to Lewis Hamilton for not making us feel so self-conscious on the grid.
I would like that if Hamilton pitted and we just saw the 5 red lights on an empty grid.
That would have been funny. It is still the lowest number of starters on a grid since 2005 USA Grand Prix.
Where there were 6. I think it's the lowest number of starters ever. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is. But it's just, that makes the 2005 Grand Prix look like a good turnout.
Yeah, they had 5 extra cars.
Yeah, they had someone to race against.
Yeah.
I don't know what Mercedes were playing at though. I mean, what Hamilton said, didn't he, several times it was dry. And okay, they had everything to lose if they pitted, obviously as the first car.
I know what the team were thinking.
If they didn't pit.
Yeah, I know what the team were thinking. This is a formation lap. We cannot tell Lewis to pit.
Actually, Michael Massey went and spoke to all the teams and said that after a red flag during that formation lap, you can.
You had a team radio from Russell saying everyone's going to box.
Yeah, the driver can talk to the
team, but the team's not allowed to.
Yeah, but that's broadcast on the formation lap.
Yeah, because that's allowed,
isn't it?
Because on the first formation lap, Giovinazzi said that we're going to gamble and came into the pits, and because that was driver to team, that's allowed. But then Michael Massey went and specified to the teams during the red flag that because there's been a red flag, team radio is allowed on this new formation lap. So the team could have told Lewis to come in.
Yeah,
I think the team forgot.
And why didn't they? Again, I mean, it's not the first Mercedes strategy mess up of the season, is it?
Far from it.
And possibly the easiest win they ever would have had.
And they would have won as well if it wasn't for pesky Fernando Alonso making
those meddling kids
into a bus.
Yeah, that young upstart rookie.
Yeah. If it weren't for those meddling kids.
Mate, I mean, it was the graphic of after Hamilton had pitted, he was then 3.7 seconds a lap faster than the leaders.
Yeah.
And then Alonso was just like,
nah mate.
Meet the outside of turn 2 and turn 4. Every single lap. And then he makes a lock-up like after 10 laps, and then that eventually lets Hamilton through. But Hamilton, of course, whinged on the radio there. At that speed, it's so dangerous, when they lightly touched. So
there we go again.
Yeah, but at that speed, it is dangerous.
I mean, yeah, but like,
literally
then accept blame for the last incident you caused.
Every driver, it's like when the Gasly and Norris one in France, where like Norris, well, at least I can't remember what he said to him, but it was like Gasly was like, "Oh, I would have said the same." I'm the first to say that.
Yeah.
Every driver does it. But I mean, that battle was brilliant. I think personally, the two drivers with probably the best racecraft that we've seen, but possibly ever.
I think Alonso probably has the best defensive racecraft of anyone on the grid.
Possibly, yeah. And it's a shame we haven't seen more of it over the years, because obviously Alonso's not had the car, is he?
Yeah.
But that was brilliant. I mean, obviously Hamilton had the pace advantage clearly, but it was kind of negated by a very, very difficult track to overtake.
And some supreme driving.
Yeah, just a bit. And both of them, I would have said. And long may it continue.
Yes, I mean that.
Like with Hamilton against Verstappen, we said this last week. we knew the crash was going to happen at Silverstone, didn't we? We could see it coming.
Yeah.
Alonso versus Hamilton, I can't see them colliding.
No, there's so much understanding there that it's just that never once crossed my mind of, well, okay, maybe occasionally when Lewis tried to stick it around the outside of 4, I thought, hang on a minute, he's going to come off worse here. But no, for the most part, I didn't think there was going to be a crash of any kind, because I know that Alonso is so experienced at defending because he is so used to driving an absolute dog of a car.
Yeah.
That the way he just parked his car on the exit of turn 1 when Hamilton had taken a different line to completely negate his better run, it was just supreme. It was the best driving of any driver yesterday, easily. And I think we can quite safely say that if Alonso had not managed to keep Hamilton behind for 10 laps, Ocon would not have won that race.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
So
Ocon would, however, have finished second.
A well-deserved driver of the day for Alonso there, even if I did vote for Ocon, because maiden win. But
40 years old, by the way. And look at Michael Schumacher on his return when he was 40. Look at Kimi Räikkönen now. Absolutely nowhere. But yeah, still got it.
In fairness, Kimi Räikkönen drives an Alfa Romeo.
He does drive a boat, to be honest, but yeah. Still.
And has a team that just releases him into the path of other cars. That doesn't help.
Doesn't take anything away from Alonso.
No.
Yeah.
I do want to point out a rather funny team radio moment. It was from Max's race engineer to Max, and he said, "What's the balance limitation at the moment?" To which Max responded, "There is no limitation. It's just broken."
Oh, but that's moaning.
It's
isn't it?
broken.
I mean, you see pictures of the car afterwards, and there's nothing left on the right-hand side of that car.
Yeah.
And Codemasters can't even put a scrape on the barge board on the game.
Yeah.
After I think Max's overtake on Daniel, didn't his race engineer go not bad for half a car?
Yeah.
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 Red Bull did another record pit stop on lap 41. Gasly absolutely sent one down the inside of Latifi and somehow didn't lock up. That was the dive bomb to end all dive bombs. And then we had the return of the Hypocrite at 63, which was at that speed, it's so dangerous, man. And then the drama didn't even finish after the checkered flag fell. That was a crazy thing. We just had cars everywhere.
It's time for another steward's document. Well, another 2.
I mean,
First of all, car
Ocon
31
just missed the pit entry. So thought it was best to park it by the exit because that was the next closest bit.
There's never an incident ever again, so we don't have to see stewards' documents.
There we are.
He got a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
To be fair, I don't think Ocon really pays attention to that section of the race director's instructions because he doesn't expect to win.
No.
Did
the team tell him where to park? I haven't heard his team radio, so if they've forgotten to tell him to come into the pits, because the pole position one was done on the grid.
Yeah.
So he might have thought, oh, it's on the grid, and gone to the grid. But no, it was in the pit.
I think they did say, to be fair, on the radio, he just probably wasn't listening.
Understandably.
Because he didn't breach Parc Fermé or anything, the stewards were just like, okay.
Yeah.
But then we got a much, much worse stewards document. It was from the FIA technical delegate.
Before we go on to that, can we just talk about Williams double points?
I mean, yeah,
well done, Williams.
Well done, Williams.
We'll
get onto that.
Williams double points. I think everyone's very happy that George finally got points.
Yeah,
the one race he gets
Latifi got more.
Latifi beat him.
Yeah, nice.
No, but George played the ultimate team game there. Even on the radio, you heard it. He was like, just prioritize him because he's further up the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we were saying, cars stopped everywhere, and then we received this from Joe Bauer that FIA Formula One technical delegate. When you see this document, it's never good.
No.
You see any document, it's never good.
No,
That
no,
depends
some of
on
them,
your stance.
yeah. But in terms of if you're flagged up in the technical delegates report, you're getting disqualified. Because there's just no question, you're getting disqualified. And yeah, everyone was quite depressed.
Yeah, we should say the review is still pending at this moment in time.
Yeah. Officially,
so-
however, he is disqualified.
Yeah, so while it
Wait,
reads
hold on.
disqualified on the final classification, there is a note at the bottom that says the classification is provisional, subject to
show
the
you that
outcome
in a
of the
minute.
notice of appeal lodged
Yeah.
by Aston Martin Cognizant F1 team against
Question.
Steward Decision 59.
Question.
Yeah.
You know, on this, it says document 56. Is that 56 for the entire weekend?
Yes.
Oh my god!
And that's just Formula One.
However, I will show you document 1 to show that they're not all like decision documents.
I know they're not all, but like,
Yeah, this is document 1
I imagine there isn't that many most weekends.
because it's document 1 every week.
Well, there's because there's
Document
the
1
race director's
is
event
the
notes, and then
circuit map.
there's
Oh yeah.
and
Doc
then
1
there's
every week.
there's always at least 2 versions of the race director's event notes, because they release the event notes and then they say the safety car 2 to safety car 1 time will be announced after the end of Friday practice. So then
And then they
another
announce it,
document
yeah.
comes out. So, you know,
think
every
that's-
time there's always 2 documents. at least.
Sometimes there's 4 versions of the notes though.
Oh god, that's when they like update track limits monitoring
Yeah.
and so it gets a bit gnarly.
56
Although they don't
documents is quite a
actually-
lot.
They don't actually release a new version of the event notes to say what the time is. They just release a document saying this is the time.
Yeah.
This week, version 2 of came about practice starts. They just updated a small regulation on the practice starts. But yeah, 56 documents is quite a lot compared to for all the other races. If we compare it with Austria,
I mean, we're actually at 64 documents.
oh yeah. But there was 78 documents at this year's Austrian Grand Prix. So 56 isn't bad.
No, that's actually
No.
quite a lot less.
But then, as we mentioned, there was document 59, which we'll bring up now. Document 59 was very depressing for basically most fans because we were all delighted for Seb getting his podium. And then this came from the stewards. With no penalty points.
I should hope so too. It's not his bloody fault.
But
With 4 penalty points.
You used too much fuel. Have race ban.
Dangerous. Very dangerous.
in fairness, if you run out of fuel in the middle of the race, that is quite dangerous because you're just going to slow down very suddenly.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever hit low fuel mode in the game and it just stopped the car? You can't accelerate. But yeah, so decision, car 5 is disqualified from the results of the race.
Yeah, it's a big owie, that one.
Article 12.4.1 of the FIA International Sporting Code.
Yeah, how does that happen? Like, how do you misjudge the amount of fuel you got? Because they must know.
No idea.
They didn't expect him to be
Right.
second.
I don't think it's that. I think Seb just, they usually, basically every team underfuels their car. And Seb, in chasing first, didn't fuel save enough.
Again, weren't expecting him to be second, chasing first.
Yes, yeah, but
Then Ocon
you had-
wouldn't
yeah, you had
expect
the
to be in
pace to win.
first, fighting for second, like fighting against second, and he didn't run out of fuel.
Vettel did have the pace to win, to be fair, didn't he? But maybe that was why. Because he was using more fuel than everyone.
Another mystery.
Carlos Sainz has been moved up to P3, and every time Carlos has got a podium, Charles Leclerc has DNF'd.
Oh. And Carlos Sainz just isn't allowed to be on the third step of the podium, apparently.
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen.
Or not during the
That's
actual
because
ceremony anyway.
we still don't know, in fairness, if Carlos Sainz is going to make it to third.
If he
I don't think
actually,
there's no way they're overturning it.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, I
You're
don't know
right.
how
They just say there's a
fuel
problem with the
samples
pumps.
work, but
yeah, the car, if we go and look at document 60 now,
I
which
thought you were
is...
gonna say 69. I was like, nice.
We're not that far up it yet. There's only 64 released.
64 is your
the
lane.
car
Fine.
has actually been impounded.
Yeah.
And so if they can extract 1 litre from the impounded car, then the intention of appeal will be heard. Sorry, it's the right to it would just be an appeal for this one.
They've served notice of
yeah.
appeal.
A disqualification is an appealable decision, unlike a 5-second time penalty, which you can ask for a review if you have significant new evidence and not Alex Albon going around the track or Karun Chandok standing at the skypad.
Question: what does impounded mean?
It's still under Parc Ferme.
Yeah, it's still
okay.
under Parc Ferme, and Aston Martin don't have the car.
Okay.
It's now with the FIA.
Oh dear.
You just see them drive it around the track.
Doing donuts in the parking lot.
But
on 0.3 litres of fuel.
Yeah, so we'll see what comes of this.
I don't know. Otmar
If
seems
they
to
can-
think there's about 1.7 litres in the
Yeah.
car. So maybe.
It's the same reason why a lot of the cars stopped before, because of Williams. I think both Williams stopped. I'm guessing to make sure they had enough fuel to pass Parc
Probably.
Ferme.
Pretty much.
where are we now?
Shall we go team by team?
Yeah, whiz through it.
Or I think we've talked to everyone at this point.
Yeah.
Shall we
We
just
haven't really
go for
talked about Ocon, to be fair.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, he did win
really
the race.
glossed over that. I mean, that's because his rear gunner was amazing.
Ocon didn't have much to do, to be fair. He
He just
inherited
had to
first
keep
place and
Seb
just
behind
stayed
him.
there.
Yeah, to be fair, he had a lot of pressure, and if he'd gone any slower, Hamilton would have probably caught him in the end, didn't he? And obviously, well, it could, like I said earlier, it could have been anyone that was in that position.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Had they got luckier, but I mean, fair play. I would
They-
not have
they often
like
say
be
you
concerned
make your
about.
own luck.
I wouldn't have if I had to guess a 4th race winner of the season. I think
You
Ocon
wouldn't have
would have
went
been a long
Ocon.
way down the list.
But I'm buzzing for my favourite driver winning a race. Like, great work.
So I'm really happy about that. He's like, yep. Great.
No,
I
I'm not
mean-
gonna lie. I it was like half distance in the race, and it was when Ocon was in the lead, Vettel was in second, and then third was just still a mess.
Yeah.
Latifi.
Yeah, I mean
Latifi.
Latifi was in third at one point. That's how much of a madness this race was. But I found myself rooting more for Ocon purely because he hasn't won before. And I know Aston Martin haven't got a win under their belts, but Seb's got enough. He's got like 54. So I found myself rooting more for Ocon because I
You
felt
always want the drivers to get their first win.
yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like a maiden win is something more special than number 55, but the team's first. So yeah, I was very glad that he did manage to hold him off.
And
So
Fernando and Esteban both got their first wins for Renault/Alpine, the Enstone team, as I think WTF1 put it, in Hungaroring.
nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rookie winners at Hungary. I can't remember them all, but because I'm not old enough for a lot of them. But I think that's
I don't know. I can't remember who's rookie and
Jenson
what.
Button.
Yeah,
did, didn't
he
he?
wasn't
Yeah.
a rookie in
so I
2006.
I
mean,
think it was
like-
just his maiden win,
wins.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, first winners. I mean, yeah. No, Ricardo wasn't.
As I say,
don't know.
Ocon's rookie, but he just done great.
No, his teammate's the rookie.
Young driver's test for Fernando Alonso. But
Rookie of the season
yeah,
so
I
far.
think the only place we have to go team by team is Williams, double points.
Mate, that's
Congrats to both of them.
Yeah, that's
They
huge.
have jumped to 8th in the standings. They now lead Alfa Romeo.
By a healthy 7 points.
That's quite a lot of points.
And even if Alfa Romeo end up tying them on points, they will have to have got a result higher than what Latifi managed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Williams will hold the place on countback.
Exactly.
So
When it could happen, like then we might have another race like this where
exactly,
Alfa Romeo,
Alfa Romeo could win
finish
a
like-
race.
But we said at the start of the season that a team like Williams has to take its chances when it gets them,
And they
has
did
to
this week.
capitalize
yeah,
on a chaotic race, and it's been exactly that, and they've done exactly that. You look at Alfa Romeo,
yeah, and they did not.
we always comment that they're in 11th place, prime position to snatch a point if someone messes up. But this weekend, half the grid just disappeared, and where's Raikkonen crossed the line? 11th. Like,
But
it was a good weekend for them to score more points, but Williams have got the jump instead.
Raikkonen did still score a point as it stands.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that like they could have been so much further up had Raikkonen not been released into the path of Mazepin, had Giovinazzi not just gone screw it down the pit lane, and a whole host of other factors. But
yeah, I think Alfa Romeo only have themselves to blame this week.
The crazy thing is, anyone could have actually won that race had they just fitted dry tires before the second formation lap.
Yeah, I can't believe no one did that.
Giovinazzi came in at the end of lap 1 and put mediums on, and then went back to the inters under the red flag, and then pitted on the second formation lap to put another set of slicks on.
Yeah.
Giovinazzi could have won the race.
No. Giovinazzi would have received a 10-second stop and go penalty because that had already happened.
Still, Giovinazzi could have finished 4th.
I think if someone like Mick Schumacher jumped into the lead, I think he would have held everyone up enough that Hamilton would have probably won. But
I mean, Mick was
in
the points at one
stage. He'd have
been
done by strategy. Someone,
So, championship standings time? Or shall we get the predictions from the Turn 3 podcast and see how they did before we do championship standings?
Yes, please. Yes,
Turn
please.
3
All right.
Yes, please.
Been decimated.
I was at work, so I didn't submit any this week.
So Chris scored 0 points.
Disqualified.
No, DNS. Did not start.
5
DNS.
penalty points.
Non-submission of official
points.
form. A team fine has been received.
On Article 1.
Have a look at document 187 about that, please.
No, let's find out. There was someone in Formula 3 got done for non-submission of a form.
That's what I was referring to.
At least I mean we don't have to look at it.
I'm just going to look up the article because I'm curious.
Well, you do that while I run through the predictions. Yeah. So, Alex, you said that Verstappen and Hamilton would crash again. Unfortunately, you were 50% out on the Mercedes front. Ben, you said Ferrari were going to score a podium, and they could potentially have it.
Yeah, we are not awarding the points yet.
Yeah,
pending,
much like Sainz's podium.
The notice of appeal from Aston Martin Cognizant Formula 1 team.
You'll find out next week if he's got those points.
Much like Sainz's podium, your result is provisional. Then
watch next week to see if I get 1 point.
Nia said that George would score points.
He wouldn't get into Q3, but he'd score points.
Nia's finally got to this point with that point. Yeah, and I've been done under Article 25.1 of the FIA Formula 3 sporting regs.
There you go. And I said that Carlos and Charles would finish in the top 5. So I'll take half a point for that. Thanks very much. Let's go through. Oh, God. We had a bold prediction from a viewer as well, who sadly went too specific. Matt said that Russell would overtake Stroll in the last 3 laps to score his first points. George did get his first points,
but he did not overtake Stroll.
Wasn't because of an overtake in the last 3 laps, and it certainly wasn't on Stroll. So no.
No points for you, Matt. Sorry.
Right. Driver standings.
First of all, Did you score any points on the podium predictor?
We'll come to that.
No, we'll do that now.
I won this week with 3 points because I said Hamilton would finish second, but obviously that is provisional because Hamilton might not actually finish second. So as it stands, I'm on 3 points and Nia is on 1 point. But if the result gets reversed, Nia will be on 3 points and I will be on 1 point. And then Ben got 2 points because he said Hamilton would finish on would get pole position and would finish on the podium. And Sonia got 2 points for exactly the same thing. Alex has had a stinker and got a big fat 0.
Can we just point out my drivers as well in that? I can't remember it. Oh yeah, Charles Leclerc to win the race.
Yep.
Out on the spot, pretty much. Well, turn 3.
Turn 3, yeah.
Sergio Perez in second, out on lap 1.
Yep.
About halfway around the lap.
Yep.
Lando Norris in third, out in the red flag on lap 1.
I would like to submit a petition for 1 point.
You didn't submit.
And in that, on my F1 play,
no,
I predicted Hambot Ver.
Oh, I forgot about F1 play.
Not having it. That's all right. I only scored 1 point this week, and that was because the safety car came out.
I got 2.
65% of people got 1 out of 10.
Richard, you also got 2.
Wait, what?
You got 2.
I can't even check this on my phone.
Yeah, and it's not working. But yeah, you got 2 points.
Yeah.
Shame there.
I got it.
Yeah, you got none.
DNS. I got a DNS.
Hang on.
In fairness, 9.18% of people who actually entered scored 0 as well.
F1 play.
Oh, wait, mine's is up. So I got a point for safety car and winning margin.
Yeah, it's updated since I last checked it because it was like 60-something% got 1 out of 10 and now it's only 45. Oh, it's because Hamilton's second.
Yes, they have. But yeah, there's proof of prediction. Lewis Hamilton on the podium.
The stewards are throwing out your appeal on grounds of that is not new and substantial evidence.
Well, it is. There's proof that I predicted
it's fabricated.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Get Kuhn Chandok in here.
Exactly.
We need him.
Sorry, Alex Albon recreating lines doesn't count. Neither does that.
You can't do it based on outcome. Remember.
Yeah.
You've had your appeal thrown out there.
Championship standings.
Drivers.
Alex, drivers first.
Oh, I'm doing this, am I?
Oh, wait. Richard, drivers first.
Oh, I'll do it.
I've got the page open.
Richard.
I think we should rotate it every week.
Read the names.
Yeah.
Fine, you can do Spa. There you go.
Okay.
Someone read the names.
In 20th and last place with 0 points, Nikita Mazepin. In 19th and down because everyone else scored points is Mick Schumacher on 0 points. Antonio Giovinazzi is down on 1 point. Kimi Raikkonen has scored 1 point and is now on 2 points in 17th place. 16th, George Russell on 4 points. 15th, Nicholas Latifi on 6 points. 14th, Lance Stroll, 18 points. 13th, Tsunoda, 18 points. There's no
12th, possibly 10th. Sebastian Vettel.
Wait,
30
what?
or 48.
12th isn't on the standings.
Seb just isn't there.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm reading it off the steward's document.
On the website, Seb just isn't there.
Well,
Yeah.
don't worry. He's on this, so we'll use this instead.
Oh, God, that's confusing. Where are we at? Okay, so 12th, Sebastian Vettel on 30 points. 11th, Fernando Alonso on 38 points. 10th, Esteban Ocon on 39 points. 9th, Daniel Ricciardo on 50 points. 8th, Pierre Gasly also on 50 points. 7th, Leclerc, 80 points. 6th, Sainz, 83 points. 5th, Perez, 104. 4th, Bottas, 108. 3rd, Norris, 113. 2nd, Verstappen, 187. And 1st, Hamilton, 195. Obviously, all of these are still provisional, pending the Aston Martin appeal.
Basically, not much will change except Seb will jump 2 positions. I don't think anyone will lose any.
No, it'll just be people who lose a couple of points. The championship gap will come back down by 2 points.
Yeah.
And that's about it. So.
Now
and Kimi will have his point taken off.
Yeah. Now for the teams. 10th is Haas with Neil Pois, the only team still to have scored. Neil Pois. Ninth is Alfa Romeo Racing Orlen with 3 points. Eighth is William Racing with 10 points. Seventh, provisionally, Aston Martin Cognizant Formula One team, 48 points. Sixth, even adding Seb's points.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, even if you added the podium, they're still going to be seventh.
No, because AlphaTauri will lose points.
Oh, good point. How many would they lose?
They would be below.
They would drop to sixth and seventh.
Yeah.
So it would be close. It would be close.
They lose 4, I think. I'm probably wrong because it's late, but I can't add up. But,
Well, currently on the Formula One website, Esteban Ocon scores 24 points, and everyone below him scores 0.
It makes sense. And 24 as well. That's not right either. You get 25 for it.
I said 25, didn't I?
No, you said 24.
24.
Oh my god, okay. I need to go to bed.
Fifth is Alpine with 77. Fourth is McLaren with 163. Tied with Ferrari, who lead on count back with 1 second place. Second.
That's what will change if the result gets changed. McLaren will go back in front of Ferrari.
Yes. Yes, they will. Second is Red Bull Racing with 291 points. And in first, the new championship leaders, Mercedes AMG Petronas Formula One team with 303 points.
So there you go, kids. If you want to lead the championship,
play bowling.
Go bowling. Send your teammate bowling.
So, F1 Fantasy, everyone had a disaster. Moving on.
Yeah.
I won.
Yeah,
won. Alex did the best. Alex was the best of a bad bunch.
Everyone who did bad.
Yeah, Alex.
That's the equivalent of Esteban Ocon winning a race.
Alex won by 30 points for Hungary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won the week.
That's about as many points as Rich got.
How did I win?
But shut up. I got 28.
That's less points than you got. For smooth operator.
That's my third team, to be fair. That is my worst team.
Yes, that means Carlos Sainz was the only person who scored.
Sainz is no longer actually in that team. I subbed him out.
That's shocking.
I subbed him out a few weeks ago, to be fair, because he wasn't having a great run of form.
I got 47 points. I don't know where that had me in terms of
47
standings.
You're seventh.
Yay.
Ben got 48.
Next heads up, people. Fifth is Richard with Lick the Stamp with 51.
That's my second team.
Fourth is me with Holy Mac and Cheese Balls, which is my second team because it's my worst team. It's put down as my first team, but it's my worst team.
Yeah, it's your first team. You submitted it first.
Yeah. It's doing worse, and I've had it in there for longer, with 59 points. Third is me again with Traffic Paradise, 74. Second is Richard with Pedal to the Metal with 81.
That's the
and
best
first
team.
is Alex with Hulkenberg with 111 points.
But Hulkenberg has not returned. This is a false team.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
false advertising.
Yeah, so Hulkenberg hasn't actually rejoined Formula One, so I think we can disqualify Alex.
Yeah, I mean,
he's going to submit an appeal
to a Williams seat.
Yeah, but he doesn't have one yet.
Yeah,
he's suggesting
that's next year as well. So
because my team is the Aston Martin reserve driver, I didn't have enough fuel. In my team, so he's disqualified. Okay.
For those of you confused, my dog has joined us for the last few minutes of recording.
Just play the Sebastian Vettel team radio from Bahrain last year in the practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rich now. Thanks, Alex. More work to do.
Or should we say, who let the dogs out?
Yeah. Anything else for this week, guys? Or is that us?
I'll try and not have another plumbing nightmare and have this episode actually come out on time.
That would be useful.
But I can't control a pipe suddenly leaking, so...
So, I believe that does wrap us up, unless we have forgot anything. Everyone's distracted by the dog.
I'm looking up I'm looking up the team radio already. I gotta get this sorted.
But yeah, so in that case, I do believe that wraps up this week's episode of the Turn 5 podcast. Join us next week for F3, W Series, and anything else we decide to ramble about. Probably more about the stewards, but a different set of stewards because it was the F3 race and not Formula 1.
Quick question. Before we end the podcast, what's your dog called?
Oscar.
Yes.
Yeah.
You never introduced him.
Roscoe.
Yeah, you never introduced Oscar. How could you?
So Oscar's here. He's a bit camera shy, which is why he keeps looking away from the laptop towards my wall.
I mean, it could be an interesting wall for a winner. Who knows?
Very interesting wall. But yeah, so that does wrap up this weekend's episode of the Turn 5 podcast. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you all next week. Have a good night, everyone. See you later.
Bye.